Hi, I'm Bev Adamo, Wild and Wise Women, Wild and Wise Sisterhood. And as always, I'm excited to be here and talking today about how love rewards the brave. Love rewards the brave. And I got that concept um, from something called The Truth Bomb by, oh gosh, her name is escaping me. I'll be sure I put it in there, but she's amazing, and I love her little snippets of such total wisdom. And love rewards the brave is where that came from. And when I thought about what does that mean, to me, what I'm looking about to is relationship. How are we in our relationships? I spend time speaking to purpose and the fact that each one of us are here for a unique purpose that no one else can fill. It's a spot that's been reserved for us for all time and will never be taken by anyone else because it was meant for us. So as we go along this process we call life, and we go through the process of forgetting who we are, when we're born and we come in and we start forgetting, and as we're forgetting, our soul sets up these triggers that will go off at various times to give us the messages we need to remember as we wake up. It's such an interesting process, this thing called life, especially for those of us who have made the soul choice to be fully expressed, to be authentically who we are. So as we remember who we are and we know what our hearts desire, we know what we're here to do, as we remember and truly become more and more fully and authentically expressed, one of the things that happens during that process is there will be a compelling invitation to look at your relationships and see what serves and what doesn't, and how we're being authentic in all relationships, how brave we are. I have a friend who is amazing. I adore her, and she talks about having courageous conversations. And I love that, because a courageous conversation to me is one in which we show up as truly ourselves. We have the intention to, at the very least, to do no harm. And even better, most of us have the intention to in some way serve everyone we come into contact with, regardless of who they are or what they're doing in our lives. So we have that set up in ourselves. And what happens if that's not really working? So as we become and remember more and more who we are, we'll begin to look at things. For example, our relation, one of the places that I start is looking at relationship to spirit, source, God, whatever you choose to call your source of highest good, of highest knowledge, of intuition, of collective consciousness, whatever you choose, and examining and looking at that relationship, because there are places I know in my life where I wasn't all that authentic when it came to source and spirit and my relationship with spirit. I tended to deny what was really true for me in my relationship with spirit. There were a lot of things. So when it came to spirit and being brave in my relationship and authentic in my relationship with spirit, my choice was to be fully in faith, to know that I was either in faith or fear. And anytime I felt myself in fear, then I would choose faith over and over and over again. And that's a process, that's a tool that I used to be brave in my relationship to spirit. I chose to say yes. Whatever you have planned for me, spirit, whatever my purpose is that I'm not yet able to see, I say yes to. I don't need to know what it is. I say yes. I have the faith, and I am authentically in all the way when it comes to doing what I'm told. I'll show up and I'll do it. Maybe with some trepidation at times, or a little bit of excitement, stuff like that. And at the same time, I say yes. So that's how I'm authentic in my relationship with spirit, is I say yes to spirit, to source, to my highest good, to the highest good of all. I say yes. And whatever I counter on that path of saying yes, I know I have the resources to deal with it. Then when it comes to myself, when it comes to yourself, how authentic are you with yourself? How is your relationship to yourself with respect to honesty? Here's what I notice about my clients and people that I work with, and of course it came from me as well, is that I wasn't necessarily that authentic with myself either. Well, first of all, I had, a lot of social conditioning around who I am or who I should be or who I might be or all those things. And when it came down to really knowing who I am and what I want, those were soul questions that I asked along the way. And those are the tools that I use to assist myself in really being authentic with myself, in practicing rigorous honesty with myself. And let me say something about rigorous honesty. Rigorous honesty is not something that is supposed to be critical or demeaning or anything like that. Rigorous honesty is about the truth. And the truth is love. And when we can love ourselves enough to tell ourselves the truth, to be brave enough in our relationship with ourselves to tell ourselves the truth, wow, what a difference it makes in terms of everything else. So those two relationships right there, when we can really, really sharpen up or really tune up or really shine up and polish up that relationship that we have with spirit, with source, in a way that's so authentic, magical, and miraculous, completely. And tuning up our relationship with ourselves, being honest, being willing to be ourselves in rigorous honesty that includes, it absolutely requires compassion. Compassion for ourselves. Because no matter how compassionate we are with everyone else in our life, unless we truly have compassion for ourselves, we can never be there for that other person or the other people who are looking to us to accept them unconditionally. That's where we need to start, is at that place of rigorous honesty with compassion with ourselves, of being brave and willing to know what we want, to ask ourselves. Coming up, I'm going to have a soul series of talks, and we'll be talking about, the 3 soul questions. Who am I? What do I want? How can I serve? And those are tools for me to sharpen and polish my relationship with myself in a very compassionate, curious, even fun way. And as you do that, as you really become authentic and you're brave enough to be authentic with spirit and you're brave enough to be authentic with yourself, you will find that you will be looking at the other relationships you have, the relationships with family of origin, the relationships with friends that have come along. So when we're looking at those courageous conversations that sometimes are calling us to have with another being, sometimes it's easier to recognize the courageous conversations that have if we were in judgment, more of a negative connotation. So it's easier to recognize when something's not serving us in a relationship, maybe a friendship, if someone's chronically late and you're not, you're on time. And you recognize that that's not serving you. And you can have that courageous conversation with that person without attachment to results. That's the other thing about courageous conversations, is you do not hold any expectations for results. You have the courageous conversation because it's calling to be held and because it's going to serve you and the other person, regardless of what the results are. So no expectations, and whatever the results are, know and trust yourself that you'll be able to continue that conversation until it's complete. You absolutely will. I know that about courageous conversations. When you can trust and stay in them and be authentic and be brave, love rewards you in those courageous conversations with the results that are really in the highest and best good of everyone. So again, seeing things that don't serve us and knowing that we need to have those, or that we may choose to have those courageous conversations with people and be authentic and show up. That's one thing. But what happens when you have a relationship that really does serve you, and yet at the same time there's something about it that is, it's great, it's awesome and everything else, and yet at the same time is, there's something going on there. So let me give you an example. It's easier for me to, I think, to give you an example to make clear what I'm talking about. So I have a friend who is in a mastermind group, and she's been in this mastermind circle for years. And it has served her so well to be in this group, and everyone else who's in the group. And there's such love and camaraderie and respect and joy in this relationship that she has with this mastermind group. And as a result, she realized that she had her dream life. She was living her dream life, living her dream. You know, she had designed it during this circle and the process and everything, and worked with everything she needed to do, taking the steps, and she's created this beautiful life that she has. Well, there are two things in her life, that this beautiful divine life that she has, that are very important to her. And one was to be there for every single birthday in her family, and to be the best grandmother and mother possible. And also to travel. Travel fed her soul, as well as these incredible relationship with family, and having this kind of, familial circle that supported her so much. And those two things were really important to her. So what she noticed over the last little while with the mastermind is that it was becoming more and more challenging to do all three. To be there every time her family had a birthday, to travel as much as she wanted to, and to participate in the mastermind full in, all out. And what she chose to do was, to me, a very courageous conversation that she had first with Spirit, with herself, about what did she really want? What were her heart's desires? And even though this mastermind was one of those heart's desires, and it served her so well, it was time to be complete with that. Wow. Something that's so beautiful, and there's so much, and when you're in service as much as people are in service to you, it's like, how do you complete that? And yet there are times when that is the courageous conversation to have, when that is when our authenticity is calling us most, is in those places where things are working, and yet there's something more. Wow. And I want to share with you that my friend had that conversation with her, that courageous conversation with her mastermind group. And as a result, of course, they still all completely support her and recognize, yes, dream life, we are complete, and blessings all the way. Because the thing about those relationships, the relationships that serve us, is they never go away. It doesn't matter if we complete them in terms of moving more into other things that we're doing, or other places that we're being ourselves. That doesn't matter. They never go away. They're always there. They're part of us. So one of the ways that love rewards the brave is that we get to keep everything that serves us. Whether we are in the big middle of it right this minute, or just passing through, simply passing through, we get to keep every single moment and gift and everything else. So I invite you to know that there's nothing that is not love, to know that you are brave, that you have courage, that you have the ability to know who you are, and that through that introspection and knowing who you are, you will discover that authentic, brave self that always is willing to have that courageous conversation, and to know that it serves not only you, it serves the world. So thank you for joining me today for this divine appointment. knowing that you are absolutely rewarded simply because you are love. It's already done. So be wild, be wise, be brave. And until next time, love you all.